Welcome to Fiery Discourse, your podcast and media featuring dragonesses, female dinosaurs, and other similar saurians and scalies. I'm your host, Ludmillanon, and with me are my co-hosts, Angron, LuckyEevee, Mathmachine, Stryker, and Jordan. Today is our 36th episode, and we're discussing 1996's Get Going, Godzillaland, Subtraction. So, let's get things started.
Yeah.
So, Get Going Godzillaland was a series of direct-to-video OVAs for preschoolers that star Godzilla and his friends on Monster Island. Basically, it showcases Godzilla's childhood and whatnot. Now, the thing that's interesting about this is, I'm not sure how it is nowadays, but this is technically an official Godzilla product. Toho themselves signed off on this. One of the most infamous lawsuit-happy companies in basically the world signed off on the idea of let's take your billion-dollar character and let's have him teach kids adding, subtracting, and basic kanji. But they did it. They made 4 of them, and they're all really, really cute in their own way. Even if you're not a Godzilla fan, I still think it's worth recommending just to see how strange the franchise could get, because this is one of the weirdest things I think the franchise has ever done.
Yeah, it's
and again,
bizarre.
Yeah,
like seriously, this is the same. Like, let's take symbolism for World War II, Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
Nagasaki, yeah.
And let's make it a kids show.
Exactly. And not only that, it's like, Godzilla, the original Godzilla movies, before they became increasingly more child-friendly, culminating in Godzilla's Revenge. The first Godzilla movies are harrowing, frightening stuff. They are not for kids. The original Godzilla, 1956, is not for kids. It is nightmare-inducing. There.
Actually, 1952. I own the original.
52. Oh, 52. Sorry, Gorisha. Yeah, the Japanese version.
Gojira.
Gojira, yeah, sorry.
It's all good.
Gojira, sorry about that, yeah.
You're fine,
But anyway, the show basically begins with a theme song, which is extremely catchy, and it features all of the kaiju basically playing with each other. One interesting fact is that some other characters like Gigan and Megalon appear in the intro, but not in the actual show. Maybe if it was going to make more episodes, they would have appeared. Another character that was planned to be in the show, but never made it, was Hedorah, who actually got artwork made of her. The only difference between her design in the movie and her design in Godzillaland is Godzillaland is a lot more chibi-fied, and of course she's bright pink.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's cute. It definitely is a way that they make. It definitely is taking inspiration from like Sanrio and stuff like that. But they're still keeping the monsters the way that they look, which is very interesting. Mothra and Mothra larvae exist in this same time period, which is very interesting.
Yeah. It also, oh man, just one day they're just playing around, freaking doing like a bunch of stuff, and the next day it's just like gashing at each other.
Yeah, that's exactly how I picture it. I picture it to be like, oh, we're the best of friends, 20 years later, and then it cuts to Godzilla basically decapitating, King Ghidorah and that. Oh, God. But yeah, aside from mostly being animated, the show also begins and ends with live-action footage of Godzilla with his sister, his human sister.
His gigantic
kaiju-sized woman
sister.
I like to think she's a kaiju-sized human being. Like that. There's no explanation. She is actually a kaiju.
Oh my
God.
But yeah.
I mean.
Yeah. And the thing that's also interesting is Godzilla here is depicted in his Heisei incarnation, which was a lot more violent than the Showa era Godzillas, at least the later ones.
Yeah,
and they actually got Showa era, sorry. And they actually got the actual suit, which is very surprising that Toho would let them use the actual Godzilla costume. There is no information online of who actually did the suit performance. I really hope it was his suit actor. It was the one who was in like all of the Heisei trilogy. I really hope it was. That would have been goddamn hilarious. If they if they got to him and they're like, oh hey, you know what? You're gonna play Godzilla again, but you're gonna do a more domesticated version of him. But yeah. The show begins, of course, with Godzilla's iconic roar, as it should. And the episode proper begins with Godzilla making cakes for his sister, which gives us the mental image of Godzilla patiently waiting by an oven. He obviously did his atomic breath on them because they actually are in whole, solid pieces and not just a pile of ash. But yeah, it turns out. But it turns out that they don't have enough strawberries for the cakes, and Godzilla speaks. And Godzilla's, I guess we could call it canon voice. He hasn't really talked. I mean, he did talk in oh god, what was the one where Godzilla and Anguirus have a conversation with each other?
I think that's the one where I guess all monsters. I think cause it's him. No, it wasn't.
It was him. I think it was Anguirus. I think it was Rodan was there.
Yep.
Yeah. And that I will say this voice is a lot better than that one. And it's way better than Minya's voice, if you haven't seen Godzilla's Revenge. Don't worry, I won't hurt you.
Oh god,
that is one of the worst dubs ever made. Godzilla's Revenge is just wow. But getting back to the actual movie itself.
Godzilla versus Gigan, by the way.
Thank you for that. But yeah, Godzilla, it turns out because they don't have enough cakes, Godzilla makes a comment saying that he's an expert in subtraction because of his childhood, which he kind of still is. He subtracts buildings, he subtracts lives, he subtracts heads from Ghidorah's body.
Yeah. I'm sorry, he subtracts what from his body?
Ghidorah's heads,
Oh god.
But yeah. Godzilla's sister then brings up his girlfriend, Goji Rin, or as the English subtitles say it, Godzilly, which would probably be the rough translation of it. And Godzilla is embarrassed to talk about her, which, in my headcanon, she is Minya's mother. And after having a kid like Minya, you want to keep away from, you want to keep each other separate after that.
Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah. But now we finally get to the animated portion of it, which is really, again, not to repeat ourselves, but it just has such an adorable, charming little art style. And like I said, the monsters, they obviously have been made cutified in that. There's no way that you can probably have their canon designs and have them still be preschooler friendly. But they still contain the elements of what make them, basically them, in other words. And one interesting thing is the music at the beginning, I swear, it sounds exactly like the Yoshi's Island theme.
Kind of, for the most part. Like, which Yoshi's Island theme, though? There are several.
I was thinking of like the one with the, at the beginning of the game. Basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does kind of sound a little like that. But anyway.
I see what you mean.
Yep. So Godzilla brings some oranges to share with Godzilly, much to her delight as she eats them all. And fun fact, for those of you that are fans of One Piece, Godzilly has the same voice actress as Nami.
Nice.
Wow.
I kid you not, same exact voice actress.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and also... Yeah, so Godzilly, basically, she looks exactly the same as Godzilla, except she's pink, she has eyelashes, and she has, like, heart-shaped dorsal fins, which are a very nice touch.
Yeah.
And like I say, Toho has never said that Godzilly is canon, but they've never said she's not canon either.
Yeah,
I really think we ought to see her in an actual Godzilla movie. She's just like a pink version of Godzilla, and maybe her roar is a little higher pitched, but she's just as destructive.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I already posted this, but there is this art of Godzilly, or Gojirin as she's called, and honestly, if Toho were to ever have the cojones to do Godzilly, I want this design Same
here. It keeps her design, but it really also looks adorable. I get where you're coming from right away.
Yeah, it keeps the Godzilla design, but dang it, just look at her. Just look at her. This is a salmon cutie, and just I want
Definitely.
I want that.
Yeah. And then we get transition effects from basically one part of the episode to another. They have these little 2-second clips of characters doing stuff, which have Megalon shows up again, as well as Ghidorah. It's interesting because Ghidorah in the other 3 episodes of Godzillaland, he is a major part of the show, and yet here he really isn't. He doesn't even show up physically throughout the episode. I wonder why that was, but it's just something that's interesting.
Wait, who physically again?
Ghidorah.
I see.
Ghidorah showed up in the other episodes as a main character, and he's not really in this one at all.
Yeah.
But yeah, Mothra then shows up to talk to Godzilla, and Godzilla calling Mothra Miss Mothra is just adorable. I mean, that she's basically I guess the nanny of Muppet Babies of the show, which does make sense, especially for a character like Mothra, believe it or not.
She's also the granny of the baby Looney Tunes, if you want to get technical.
Oh god, that show. Yeah.
That was a nice show.
Yeah. In another episode, we'll definitely talk more about... Sorry, go ahead.
Of all of Godzilla's lineup, it does make the most sense that Mothra is the adult of the group.
Yeah.
I mean, she always was.
I mean, I've always thought she was my favorite of the group anyway, so it works.
Same, believe it or not. I really like Mothra as well.
Yeah, Mothra's pretty cool. Honestly, it also makes sense that this wouldn't be quote unquote the Mothra, as Moths don't exactly have a freaking long lifespan compared to Godzilla. So seeing Mothra ultimately have several incarnations over the years is honestly very fitting.
Yeah, exactly. And I definitely can see that too, that it's basically the pre-thing of Mothra, an earlier version. And it does make sense too. And of course, why Mothra larvae is there. So now Godzilla shows up and... Oh, no, before that, Mothra teaches Godzilla and also basically the audience about how subtraction works. Now, since this was, again, for preschoolers, it does it in a way that doesn't really talk down to them. It shows them basically the concept of, subtracting things without making it too confusing, I guess, which pretty good, again, for, the whole educational type of thing. So now Godzilly shows up, and she also knows about subtraction, which completely stuns Godzilla, who I guess is kind of the, I don't know what you'd call him, but he basically is the one that does the learning in all the episodes. In the first episode, Godzilla learns how to read and write kanji, which is a very interesting concept if they kept that in the movies. Godzilla learns, of course, how to count in the second one, add in the third, and subtract in this one. And again, the fact that it's Godzilla, the king of all monsters, doing this is, to me, inherently hilarious, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Godzilla basically says that he'll take all the oranges. Godzilla gets angry. It turns out Godzilla was joking and gives them all to her. And then she becomes happy, which, okay, yeah, you wouldn't give any to Godzilla, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just... But yeah, anyway, then we get a very short song about subtraction. And it's interesting that, again, this show is basically an OVA of similar things that it's very much structured like something, I guess like Sesame Street in a way, like little vignettes in that. It doesn't really have a plot line or a story or a running story throughout, so to speak. It has little mini stories all wrapped up into one thing with one overlying educational goal, which in this case is subtracting.
Yeah.
Yep. But yeah, after that, we then cut to Godzilla. It turns out it is Godzilly's birthday, and Anguirus, Rodan, Mothra, and Baragon are also attending.
Yeah.
Anguirus turns out to be late, and he gives Godzilly's apples, much to Godzilla and Baragon's fury. So then Godzilla, not to be outdone, shows up with more apples, claiming he has more, and he wins. which, okay, yeah, you're really, really tough guy, Godzilla. You're that insecure that you have to go and get more apples, because someone else might be hitting on your girl.
Overcompensating for something?
Why he would get all defensive. His sister is gonna get hit on by other monsters. I could see why he'd be like, "Oh, can we get more apples than you got? The best brother ever."
Yeah.
Oh God. Okay. Okay. Quick tangent, but this honestly reminds me of honestly, Godzilla, in my opinion, is pretty much the Bambi of the kaiju verse. And this is basically
this
like
version, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like taking into consideration the fact that like there was a legit short called Bambi Meets Godzilla.
Oh, that's a classic one. That is like a classic indie animation short. It's so simple and yet it is hysterical. It's like a minute long. You know the punchline right away, but yet there's just something about the way it builds up. It is hilarious, and 9/10 of the movie are the end credits, which again is also very funny.
Oh man, but yeah, just him trying to overcompensate for his girl honestly is something Bambi would probably do.
Definitely, yeah. But then it turns out that Then it turns out that Baragon also. Sorry about that. Oh yeah, sorry about that. Baragon then shows up with even more apples, and I love Godzilly's completely befuddled reaction in the background while Godzilla, Baragon, and Anguirus all argue. It is just hilarious how she is like, "What is going on?" in the background.
The fuck?
Yeah, exactly. It is exactly like that. It turns out Baragon has 2 more than Godzilla, much to his and Anguirus' anger. And then Godzilla finally resolves the conflict by basically saying the simple solution, like, "Hey, we could all eat these together instead of all of you giving them to me."
Yeah, like we could all eat these together instead of you all just having a dick measuring contest.
Exactly. Yeah.
She can. She just literally goes like, "I can't eat all of these by myself."
Yeah.
Which is a good joke. It is a cute little thing. And again, this isn't on the same level of like Henson or anything. Like it's not legitimately witty like something like Sesame Street and that. But it's a cute enough time if you're a Godzilla fan. I recommend it. But then we get to see
it very much is.
Yeah, we get to see MechaGodzilla making his first appearance in this episode in transition, and more on that later. We then cut to a Godzilly watering flowers in her house.
Oh,
which
God.
To me, it's raised a lot of questions. Do the other kaiju live in houses? What happened to them between this time and, the actual Godzilla timeline with the houses? Do they just, destroy them in a fit of rage accidentally?
No idea.
Yeah. It's I know it's not supposed to be, I guess, connected to the Godzilla verse, but it is, and it is very confusing in that regard. But Godzilla basically then goes to sleep, and I love how this is done. Godzilla pops up in her window while she's asleep, but the way they animated this, I don't know if it was intentional or not. He just like slides up into frame like, "Hey, baby." It's like, well, what are you doing, Godzilla? Why are you watching her at night?
I don't know why. It also made me think of Bonjour.
Oh God!
Man.
Oh, that I picture that now. That is hilarious. But it turns out that the next morning, Godzilla wakes up and she has 3 more flowers. And it turns out that Godzilla is revealed to have brought them there overnight, and then he does it again the next night. So Godzilla's basically breaking and entering at this point.
Yeah, help it up.
Again, but I guess on Monster Island, laws do not apply. That's why they call it Monster Island. But she wakes up to see 5 more flowers, and Godzilla reveals that he did it. Then Godzilla goes outside basically to water the flowers in her flower bed. Turns out Godzilla ripped up all her flowers in her flower bed to put them in her bedroom. And I like how this ends too. Godzilla basically angrily chasing him, like threatening to beat him with the watering can is pretty funny.
Either that, or she was gonna spade and neuter his story.
Oh God!
With the watering can or the trowel.
But no, oh God!
Yeah, this was easily the biggest laugh I got in this episode. It was just something I just really hit right.
Yeah, and like I say, it's something about the timing of this too that it really does work in a way that you wouldn't think would be funny, but it does. It really, really does. We then get another brief. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm gonna make your ass burn redder than the red side Japan.
Oh god! Oh my god! But yeah, oh god. Yeah, then we get another song, brief little song about subtracting. And then we finally get back to the live action footage of Godzilla with him and his sister as she asks more about him with Godzilly. And this part actually is the biggest laugh I got. Godzilla's sister basically asks him, how is it to have romantic rivals for Godzilly? Godzilla's response, maybe this came differently in the Japanese, but in the subtitles, is literally, "Look, lady, I'm a kaiju." It's just a matter of fact, like, yeah, that's what I do. I'm a giant kaiju.
I'm a kaiju. It's what I do. Like, so what?
And then he gets embarrassed again, and he falls backwards out of his seat, which probably is the easiest stunt one of these Godzilla suit actors had to do. Let's be real.
Honestly, compared to like getting set on fire.
Yeah. And I love when he tips over and falls, they actually play the Godzilla roar.
Oh my goodness, yes.
I love it. It's like if you have access to the Godzilla roar sound effect, you are going to get your money's worth out of it. And they did. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
Then the show gets back to its animated section once again as MechaGodzilla appears before Godzilly. He basically asks MechaGodzilla basically asks Godzilly to hang out with him, but she says how rough he could be, and MechaGodzilla then fires his lasers, which, yeah, he would definitely do that. And again, MechaGodzilla is also matter of fact in that, he basically, his response to that is, it's what I do, this is how I am. Which, I mean, he was technically built, so there's that.
Yeah. Oh, man.
It literally is what he does.
Yeah, MechaGodzilla here is pretty much one of those like machines that pretty much has an AI that cannot, for whatever reason, comprehend intent.
Yeah, definitely not. And his AI also has something else very interesting that we're going to get to in a couple of seconds. But MechaGodzilla basically tries to kidnap Godzilly as Rodan goes back to tell Godzilla and Anguirus about it while they're surfing, which honestly just looks adorable. Like the way it's animated with them doing that. Of course, this is at the time when both of them were actually small enough to where they could actually surf on something. And not just wade through the oceans. But Godzilla then confronts MechaGodzilla about Godzilly. And this is when we get to, in my opinion, one of the most inexplicable and yet hilarious parts of this OVA, this little show. MechaGodzilla says he'll let Godzilla go if Godzilla and Anguirus beat his game show.
Yes, it is.
He like the lights go out, it comes out, and he's wearing like a suit and a tie. And this is MechaGodzilla, keep in mind. This is the same MechaGodzilla from like Godzilla versus MechaGodzilla and that. This is the same exact character. And he's hosting a game show. He's got like a little suit jacket, he's got a little bow tie. He's just like, it's just something that is just so inexplicable. It is hilarious to me. And again, Toho signed off on this. They were like, sure, you could do that to MechaGodzilla. Why not?
Oh, dear.
Yeah. But then, of course, Godzilla and Anguirus get all 5 questions right, which leads to MechaGodzilla basically to rage quit and fly away crying.
Yeah.
Godzilla embraces Godzilla in a hug. And another joke that is pretty cute is Anguirus, his deadpan reaction, I helped too. That again was a pretty good joke. Just how understated it was, And then we then we get our third and our longest song about subtraction. That is a rap song. Sadly, it does not compare to the epicness that was King Ghidorah's rap song about counting. They actually did that. King Ghidorah raps about counting from 1 to 20. It is insane. It is hilarious. It's on YouTube. Look it up. It is so funny that it exists, and it is part of this series. It's the animated version, not like the live action version. If they did with the live action version, this would have been the greatest piece of Godzilla media ever made.
It would have.
They did it with the live action King Ghidorah puppet.
I mean.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, basically, it teaches us about subtracting and that. And, yeah, we also get appearances again from Ghidorah, Gigan, and Megalon. And then we get to the final part with MechaGodzilla flying along tearfully when Mothra finds him. She basically asks him what's wrong, and he tearfully says how he bullied Godzilly. And Mothra goes basically to make things right between them all. And MechaGodzilla, you would do way worse in the future than just try to bully, somebody else and get them to be with you. You would do way worse than that.
I'm more concerned of why does he exist? Who built him?
Yeah, if they're like, keep in mind, these are like super young, and this was like, oh man, like it's been stated before that Godzilla is like a Permian era dinosaur, pretty much.
Basically, yeah.
Or giant iguana.
If we're going by the Heisei trilogy, if we're going by the Heisei trilogy, which I'm going with that because that's Godzilla's design, I think he was supposed to be like a permanent dinosaur in that era, like Godzilla 85, and God, I can't remember.
I mean, MechaGodzilla. Who built him?
Oh, MechaGodzilla. Wasn't it the aliens?
Yes, it was the aliens that they took DNA from Godzilla himself, and they're like, "Oh, we can do better than the original Godzilla, so we'll have this MechaGodzilla and send it to Earth to fight Godzilla himself."
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's what. Yeah. The later era Godzilla
movies.
Wouldn't be the first time aliens tried to stop Godzilla.
Many times, aliens appeared very frequently in the Godzilla franchise. Yeah.
Oh man, Monster X in particular looks interesting.
That was a good one. Yeah, classic. But
I'm not saying it's aliens. GIF here.
Oh god, yeah.
Aliens.
But yeah,
audiences
MechaGodzilla
love aliens.
Yeah, well, they definitely do in the Godzilla franchise. But yeah, MechaGodzilla then apologizes and says he won't shoot his lasers again, which is a promise he will break many times in the future. And they all play together with jump roping and other such activities and whatnot. Then we get back to the final part of the live action segment where the Godzilla and his sister. And she tricks him into taking only 2 cakes, much to Godzilla's annoyance. And I love the fact, once he realizes that he's been tricked, he lets out his iconic scream, which is just hilarious. It's like, he uses it for everything. I love, that's the implication, that that Godzilla uses his scream for literally almost everything.
Oh, dear God.
Yeah, that is hilarious. But Godzilla, turns out he probably was so upset after being tricked, he had to destroy a couple of cities to calm his anger out. But that was basically it for the episode, and this was also the 4th and final OVA produced of Godzillaland. Like I said earlier, they had plans, obviously, for other kaiju like Gigan, Megalon, Hedorah to appear. It was going to be an actual series. They were this close to making it an actual, like a weekly, series and whatnot. At literally the last second, Toho pulled the rights out from under them. They've never said why. Information on these OVAs on the internet are very scarce, so it's kind of hard to find out why exactly. But it's a shame because it could have been cute. It could have been a nice little thing for, again, for preschoolers to learn stuff. It could have also, had the other effect of getting them into Godzilla, which probably was why Toho bankrolled it.
Oh, man.
But yeah, it's very weird how they made 4 of these and then nothing else with them. It's like, it completely vanished into thin air. And these are very, they're not hard to find exactly. They're on the internet, pretty readily available with with English subtitles as well, which is very good. But if you want a physical copy of these OVAs, you're going to pay some serious cash. Guys, these have never been re-released outside of the VHS era.
No kidding. Also, weird thing about this show is it kind of feels like the PBS equivalent of Caillou and freaking Dragon Tales, but like the live action with like the live action and animated aspect of that, but pretty much everything else that made Dragon Tales so better, down to the fact that Miss Mothra honestly feels like Quetzal from that series.
I can definitely see that. But yeah, it does have, like you said, that vibe of being like early style PBS. But what's again to me is amusing is that it's Godzilla. It's like that's like maybe one of the few franchises that you wouldn't think could be adapted into a preschooler show. It's like that, and I think like RoboCop would be like the other one, which would be like, how the hell do you make that sanitized for children, for like really little children?
Same way you do it for frickin' Echo. Wait a minute.
Well, this is also the era where they were turning anything into cartoons. They made a RoboCop cartoon. They made a Rambo cartoon.
Oh yeah, they did.
They did a lot of cartoons.
Didn't they do Terminator at one point as well?
No. They were going to do Alien. They were going to do an
though.
Yeah. And they were going to do an Alien cartoon. Never got made, but it actually got far enough to think to where they did pilot episodes, and they've never been seen, I think. But they did come really close to doing an Alien cartoon, which, how the hell would you do that? I mean, what would the episodes be? You know, watch Ripley run from the Xenomorphs, and then the next one, watch Ripley, kill the Xenomorphs week after week.
I think it would probably be something like either Batman the Animated Series or freaking maybe Marvel, maybe Avatar. I'm not sure, honestly, but I'm sure they could find a way.
I'm sure of it too. It's just that something that's interesting that, again, you wouldn't think a thing like Godzilla would have a show like this. At least in Japan too, especially how, again, considering Toho is so protective with their franchise, the fact they signed off on this is a miracle, but I'm really glad they did because, man, that was really, really great.
Yeah, so, I mean, seriously, it's pretty much like, it's taking an icon that pretty much represents its atomic holocaust and pretty much adapt it into a freaking show for Japanese kids. Like, to be fair, there have been a lot of Japanese kids shows like freaking Gegege no Kitaro that have leaned on the cutesy side while also having a bit of a dark edge as well. Hi, Dororo.
Oh yeah, Gegege no Kitaro is actually one of my favorite.
Yeah, the 2018 version was awesome. But like absolutely. The fact that Japan has that particular style, and for the most part it can work, is something speaks volumes, honestly.
Oh no, it's amazing. It is absolutely amazing that they do that they can actually pull that stuff off and have it work really, really well.
Hell
it's also and it's also a pretty good tangent to our question of the episode, which is, what are your favorite Godzilla-related memories? Now, the thing that's interesting is that where I'm from in Europe, basically, kaiju movies never really were that popular. They never really were. A few of the Godzilla movies made a pretty big thing here. The first one was a huge hit, believe it or not, in Spain. But aside from that, Godzilla itself never really, I guess, penetrated the popular culture like it did in the United States. But yet, I think where I first found about them was there was this DVD store, and they had all of these, like a box set of different movies in that. And some of them were like these kaiju movies. They had some Godzilla, and they had a Gamma or two. They had some really weird ones, like what was the one, Guyaya, the one that looks like the giant saucer-shaped bird thing. That's a really obscure one. You probably would know, but they had all these box sets and that, and I watched it, and it was like I was hooked immediately. I was like, "Where's this been? Why has nobody talked about this and that?" And from there, I started to actually look up the all the different movies and that, and I watched them, some in other methods than others. But yeah, I would have to say that they are a lot of fun. They are a cultural touchstone for a reason. They are, unironically, the first original Gojira movie is one of the best Japanese movies ever made. I will say that much. And yeah, I just feel as a whole that Godzilla really has cemented his place in popular culture, and I feel like at this point, Godzilla is as much of a legacy franchise as something like James Bond in that. They are never make Godzilla movies, that Godzilla will always exist in the popular culture, and I'm glad for that. I'm glad that they do, because despite some movies being better than others, and that even in recent times, and that I still feel that at his core, Godzilla really represents something really powerful, I think, to our collective consciousness in a way. Basically, how he started off to how he is now. It's a little different, of course. Godzilla, 2014 to Godzilla, the original and that. But I still feel overall the character really shines through, and of course, great supporting cast. I mean, you got Rodan, you got Anguirus, you got Baragon, you got Mothra. You have, of course, the King Ghidorah, one of the most badass villains in cinema history in that. And yeah, I definitely have to agree that Godzilla will always be here forever in that. And that's basically my experience with Godzilla. Oh, and I will talk about my experience with another version of Godzilla when we do that episode in a couple of weeks. But you'll have to just wait and see which version of Godzilla we are talking about.
Absolutely.
I'm going to say, yeah. It's a very different one, let's put it that way. But I personally like it. But we'll get to that in that episode. Angron, what would you have to say is your favorite Godzilla-related memories?
Oh, boy. I could ultimately say I recently saw... Okay. Honestly, other than King of the Monsters and... Godzilla 98, which I saw recently, which we'll get to that.
Exactly.
I've never really seen a Godzilla movie. I mean, granted, the closest... I mean, honestly, despite me liking the character and liking the world that's in it, I never really watched that much Godzilla media to begin with. That being said, however, the question remains: if I've never seen Godzilla, how would I know about Godzilla? That answer comes in the form of my elementary school years, because during that time there was a collection of books that had that was basically talking about monsters from like cinema. We got like Dracula, the Mummy, Frankenstein, even zombies for the most part. But one book in particular really like fascinated me. Oh, also the werewolf. But anyways, it was basically a book talking about Godzilla in like all the iterations that could be found and the iterations that ultimately were covered in that book. And it's how basically I know about Bambi and Godzilla, to put it shortly. Oh, man. Man. But, yeah, since then, I was hooked. I absolutely liked Godzilla. It's basically my first like introduction to like giant freaking lizard monsters, aka kaiju. And honestly, there was like a parody book that I also read called Dogzilla, which
I think I remember that.
Those.
Yeah. Oh man, they also did Cat Kong,
I haven't heard of it yet.
Cat Kong is also a good one.
Oh god.
Oh man, I mean, honestly, like, I remember I also saw ads for like the 2003 King Kong, but back to Godzilla. Back to Godzilla. It's how I found out a lot about his history up to that point. It's how I found out about Minya or Minira, if you want to get technical. It's how I found out about a bunch of other stuff. It's how I found out about Mothra. It's how I found out about his origin. It's how I know the term Raymond Burr, other than that one Dilbert comic.
Okay.
Yeah, the one where Dilbert is basically like on the set of like another Godzilla movie where like two dinosaurs, Bob and Don, are on it, and like Dogbert's the director, and he's like describing the script where it's like where it's like Bob Godzilla is pretty much doing stuff, and like at the end he's like, and then I come in and waste you both with a fire extinguisher, and Dilbert's like, Raymond Burr dies, and Don's like, what? No sequel? God.
Oh god.
That comic was awesome. But yeah, that right there, other than the modern iteration, which is to this day still my favorite. Oh my gosh. Those were my earliest and honestly my favorite memories, because from that point on, I included him in everything my childhood brain could come up with, like fighting bad guys and whatnot. It was, oh man. I actually made a drawing where I was basically okay, this is gonna get embarrassing, but I was basically a superhero, and I was working with a bunch of other people at the time. I think one of them was Ben 10, maybe not.
Oh my god.
But but also he was part of it. But yeah, it's pretty much it's pretty much a testament to how much staying power he has with me, even to this day. Oh man.
Yeah.
It honestly makes me kind of want to see Shin Godzilla now.
Yeah. I actually haven't seen Shin Godzilla myself, believe it or not. I should get to that. It looks really good.
Started seeing it, and I've seen bits and pieces of what Shin Godzilla is ultimately capable of. But if it's not the full movie, then it's honestly not shit. Oh, and I've also seen the Netflix movies. The Netflix movies are pretty nice.
Oh yeah, I started watching the Netflix movies.
Definitely.
I will say about Shin Godzilla, it was made by the creator of Evangelion.
Nice. That makes sense.
That makes sense. Interesting.
Yep.
Anyway, that's me.
So yeah, Stryker, what would you say is your favorite Godzilla-related memories?
So I had actually, I really hadn't gotten into Godzilla until I got to be an adult. But yeah, until my 20s. But when I heard about Godzilla was with a lot of pop culture, with mainly the cartoons I watched. And
yeah.
And because of how much I had become interested in it from all the YouTube videos I had watched, and then of course I saw that the first movie was on Blu-ray at the time from the Criterion collection. I had to get it, and holy shit, that ending made me cry.
Yeah. Original Godzilla is, like I said, is a really, really fantastic movie.
It's brutal, but it is fantastic.
Yeah, definitely.
But let me tell you, my favorite Godzilla-related memory was when I first watched 2014 Godzilla.
Ooh, nice.
I fucking swear that movie is underrated.
I can see it. It definitely, it's funny. It made a huge impact when it came out, but then everyone just forgot about it. It's very strange that way. Everyone was talking about it. Everyone was saying, "Oh, Bryan Cranston and stuff like that." But then it just, no one talks about it. It's weird.
Yeah. Bryan Cranston was only in the first half of the movie.
Yeah, that was, I think, something that shocked everybody with it.
Yeah, which honestly, it might have worked in the film's favor in a way.
No, it definitely did, because it makes it a little bit more surprising in that.
It did. But yeah, my favorite Godzilla-related memory, and I will still, I still watch this every time I think of it. The airport scene.
Ooh. The airport scene in Godzilla?
Yeah, actually, in 2014 Godzilla.
Dang. Yeah. Interesting fact about 2014 Godzilla. That is not the first time that version of Godzilla was debuted.
Oh, really?
There is a book in the MonsterVerse Godzilla. Let me find it really quick. Here it is. Godzilla Awakening. That is the book that debuted before the film came out.
I may have to take a look at that book sometime.
Yeah.
But yeah, for me, I can't forget the first time I ever saw Godzilla 2014, and just seeing the first time Godzilla appearing on screen, just absolute silence.
Yeah, and for those who have not seen the 1954 movie or any other iteration other than the 1998 version, which I do not blame you for the most part, that would probably have been the most groundbreaking thing you would have ever experienced, and it only gets better from there, I hope.
Oh yeah,
definitely.
Yeah. My favorite is just when Godzilla first appears in 2014 Godzilla. I just got goosebumps the first time he appeared on screen. Absolute silence. My jaw was on the floor when that happened. I keep every time I see this movie, it's like, why the hell was this critically panned?
Yeah,
it got bad critical reviews. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I heard a lot of. Yeah, I heard a lot of people hated this movie.
Really?
Which made me a little concerned about it. But after hearing Stryker, I'm like,
yeah, you should check it out. It's a good one.
It is a really good movie.
I recommend it a lot. So, yep. Jordan, what would you say is your experience with the Godzilla franchise? Any favorite memories in that?
Mine would probably, what got me into Godzilla was probably watching the American version of the giant iguana Godzilla. And I'm like, I liked this as a kid, but now that I'm older, I'm like, wow, we were crazy with this idea.
Yeah.
And
then we'll talk more about that version very shortly on this podcast. So stay tuned.
And then I went back to watching the old Godzilla. I found an entire website of all the Godzilla movies that I've never saw in Japanese, and I'm like, wow, these are a lot more better. My favorite one would probably Godzilla 2000, where they have him a lot more better, and we have the armadillo creature that Godzilla meets and befriended. I'm like, oh my god, this is my favorite creature. I like the sound it makes, and I'm like, this is my favorite monster of Godzilla. I mean, Mothra has my favorite. I'm like, I love the songs that we hear with the little spirits that communicate through Mothra. And I'm like, I love the song that they sing to her, and I'm like, beautiful. But I love the Godzilla franchise. I have not seen all the way through. I've not seen Shin Godzilla, and the new one that's coming up. I'm like, how is this gonna work?
Zero.
How is this new Godzilla? Yes, I'm like, how is this gonna compare to the Shin Godzilla? I have seen the transformations of how it was this larva, weird, ugly thing of Shin Godzilla to this thing, and I'm like, how is this gonna compare to Shin Godzilla? This is gonna be more different and probably more epic. But I'm like,
what was it? What was the Godzilla movie called again?
Godzilla 0, and we have Shin Godzilla.
Never mind. It's -1.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was gonna say that.
Oh yeah, -1.
Yep. So I'm like, these are good. Even the new ones that with King Kong and Godzilla, I'm like, these are good. How can they go further with a giant atomic reptile that breathes fire like this? How far will they go? I mean, with the Netflix of Godzilla that I have not seen or somewhat seen, I'm like, you could ruin this series, you could not. How will you do it with this another live action of Godzilla? So I'm kind of like hoping and praying they don't screw it up, but they'll probably be more epic than anything of action movies I've seen in my life.
I mean, there's Godzilla vs. Kong, the new Emperor that's coming out. I hope they don't donk that up.
Please don't let it donk it. Like maybe have something better than what we had with MechaGodzilla. I mean, that was kind of cool that they brought back some cool old remnants of the first Godzilla, like the bones and stuff. I'm like, holy crap, this is cool as hell. But then you screw it up, like you ruin MechaGodzilla. How can you ruin an iconic character like this to anything else? So I'm hoping that they can maybe throw in a new villain for King Kong and Godzilla to maybe work together, or who knows what. So I'm kind of like, please don't screw this up, writers and directors. I know you're off the whole thing with the strikes and stuff, but please don't screw this up for us.
No, absolutely no.
Definitely.
That's like I say.
Yeah, no, that's all good. It's all good. So yeah, Math, what would you have to say is your favorite Godzilla-based memories in that, and with the franchise in general?
Mine actually goes back to seeing King of the Monsters, the Legendary Pictures version, in theaters. There were two different parts that just astounded me that this was just even happening in general. All of the scenes with Mothra, but particularly the birth of Mothra scene where she's coming out of the waterfall and it's got her actual song playing, was one of the most beautiful scenes I've ever seen in cinema.
Yeah.
That was just amazing that we got that here in America. I saw them, I was like, how was this made for us? What the fuck?
They made it for us.
Yeah, they finally did. Yep.
And then the one that just blew me away, and if anyone's ever seen this movie, you probably know what I'm about to say. As soon as the movie ends and the credits start up, Bear McCreary's cover of Blue Oyster Cult's Godzilla.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that we got that in the fucking movie, I was laughing my ass off because I could not believe that they actually got it in.
Yeah, that was pretty metal, honestly.
Yeah. I like when they do that too. I can definitely see that. Being one of the one of the more interesting parts of the franchise in general. But yeah, I do like the Americanized versions as well. King of the Monsters, Godzilla vs. Kong. They're pretty good movies as well.
Yeah, Legendary seems to be doing pretty good with it, and I like when you can tell they're doing stuff for the fans and for longtime veterans of the series, and that they show that they understand what they're doing, like with King of the Monsters and all that little stuff that they put in that they absolutely didn't have to, but it was goddamn appreciated that they did.
Yeah. Exactly. So anyway, Evie, what would you have to say is your favorite Godzilla-based memory in that?
Oddly enough, NES Godzilla creepypasta.
Nice. Like I said, that's funny because creepypasta in general is something that, for the most part is pretty dated nowadays. You look at stuff like Sonic.exe and like Jeff the Killer and you're like, why are these popular? But NES Godzilla creepypasta is, I feel like, the one where they got it right. That is legitimately still well written, still very creepy. The Red's design is amazing. I mean, I kind of want to see it in an actual Godzilla movie now.
I kind of want to see it in an actual Godzilla movie too, because like.
I'm just gonna say this now. I actually think Postra was wrong about fucking that. Oh god, it was the fucking Disney creepypasta.
Which Disney creepypasta? There are
several. The one with the Mickey Mouse costume.
The reverse negative one, yeah.
Yeah. It says that one is the scariest creepypasta ever written, and I'm like,
bitch, I can think of two.
Honestly,
that involve Disneyland mainly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Exactly. Yeah. But anyway, apparently, so now it is time for the patent pending question of the week, where we're going to rate Godzilly, aka Gojirin. And I'm going to go first. I'm going to give her a pretty good score, I think, of maybe, I'm going to, after thinking about it for a while, I'm probably going to give it a 7 out of 10. The reason I'm giving her that is because she's really cute and all. The design, even though it's just female Godzilla, is a nice one. The fact that we don't really have that many female kaiju in the Godzilla universe itself is very interesting. Yeah, aside from Mothra and like Hedorah and a couple of others that you probably wouldn't know are female, but yeah. Aside from them, I feel like Gojiri fills a hole that like was needed in the Godzilla universe, basically. And that I'm not expecting her to appear in any Godzilla films anytime soon, but it would be, neat if they just acknowledged it in even like the smallest of ways. But the thing, I can't give her a higher score because again, this is a a preschooler OVA in that, so it doesn't have the much with characterization in that. But what we got out of it is really, really cute. And I think if Godzillaland had become a series, I feel like Godzilly, aka Gojiren, we would have seen a lot more of her and her, maybe more personality from her, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because right now she is a little flat, but she does have her moments. Like the part with her chasing Godzilla with the water pan and things like that is, like I said, they definitely were trying. And I feel like if they had more episodes of Toho, if Toho didn't just like pull the rights away at the last second, we definitely would have gotten that. So, Angron?
All right. Let me see here. I am going to have to give her a little bit lower of a score. I would have to say 6 or 5 out of 10. Yeah, it's not that her being all basically Godzilla but female does any. But let me think here. It's not that her being all Godzilla but female detracts from anything, really. Especially since she shows to have a little more personality than that. But honestly, it's the same deal that we get from Allie from Land Before Time. Granted, her compared to Allie, Gojiren's character remains a little more consistent, and not to mention she does have like. And not to mention, I honestly prefer her. I honestly prefer the modern version that I posted. But yeah, otherwise, she's honestly not too bad. She's a little above middle of the road, but not by too much. So I'm gonna have to say 6 out of 10.
Okay, that's good. Stryker?
Honestly, I'm gonna have to go with an 8 out of 10, just because, like, I don't know why I'm a sucker for things that are practically Rule 63.
Yeah, I can see that. I understand where you're coming from. Like with her basically being the female counterpart to Godzilla is something that we didn't really have before.
Honestly, yeah, but still, just like, I don't know why. It just felt like she actually had a lot of potential, and I might be overcompensating, but it's just I just can't help but love her so much. She's so fucking cute.
Hey, no, by all means, yeah, that's a good one. So Math?
I'm gonna be the odd man out here, and I actually give her a 10.
Wow, okay.
She has a great design. I'm a sucker for the Sanryu style, and it just works perfectly with this.
Yeah, it's pretty good. You would
not think Godzilla characters in a Sanryu style would work, but they somehow made it work. She's got a really cute voice. Voice actress for Nami really fucking helps.
Yes.
Yes.
And to me, she comes off as sort of a Miss Piggy type character. I really got that from her. She had the funniest lines in the show. She had the funniest actions in the show. She had the funniest moments. Best characterization. Just everything about the episode, she was the best in, bar none. And I really got what they were trying to do with the character, and I think that it worked really well.
Yeah. All right. Wow. I definitely see your ports there. Yeah.
Might raise it up a little bit to 7 out of 10. Not by much, but
that's no, it's all good. So I'll change the score to 7. Okay. Jordan?
I never even knew there was a female Godzilla in my life. Well, I mean, besides getting Mothra, but I'm like, wow, I never even think Godzilla had a sister. And hearing about her from everyone else, I'm gonna give her, I don't know her fully, I'm gonna say 6 out of 10, because I don't know her. But if I watched a little bit of the show, I might change it up to like maybe 6 out of 10 or 7 out of 10 if I like her, of who she is. Because I had to watch it.
Okay, that's all good. And Evie?
I guess a 6 out of 10.
Okay. Any particular reason or?
Nah.
All right, it's all good. It's all good. So, thank you so much for listening. If you have any questions, or if you want to go on MechaGodzilla's Big Subtraction game show, you can email us at FieryDiscourse@outlook.com, or visit us on Twitter at twitter.com/FieryDiscourse. Next time, we'll be talking about the 2009 Batman Brave and the Bold episode, Day of the Dark Knight. That's going to be a lot of fun, definitely, to talk about one of the more underrated DC Comics superhero TV show, in my opinion. And yeah, until next time, next week, thank you guys so much for listening, and take care.
Yep, later.
Bye-bye.
Adios.
Adios.